We first did this last summer, just before you joined Imperial. It's been about 7 months since then. What's been the highlight for you?
Yeah, it's really flown, and it's lovely to see you again, Jess. I think the real highlight has been getting to know the institution in much more detail. So I've spent most of the last 6 months visiting our academic departments, professional services divisions, students' union, sports facilities, residences, and that's just been a fantastic opportunity to learn more about Imperial, to hear about people, what people love about the place, what's their ambition for Imperial, but also the day-to-day stuff that we can work on together to make their lives easier and more productive. So it's been really exciting. I can honestly say that every day has been different.
I know from those kind of interactions that people have really enjoyed that opportunity to have a chat to you. Everyone I've met who's been at those kind of sessions has really got a lot out of it. I wonder what you found most surprising.
Probably not surprising. I mean, and that I probably had a pretty good sense of the university when I arrived first. But if I was to pick one thing, maybe it's the scale and range of research. I mean, I was aware of the quality, but the sheer scale and the diversity and the quality is just amazing and truly world class. We use that phrase a lot, but in this case, in Imperial's case, it's absolutely no exaggeration. It's just fantastic. And
all of the kind of incredible facilities that are just a stone's throw from your office here in South Kensington.
Well, that's right. And I mean, like for about 3 months, I wondered, what was outside the window. And then I go and visit and find out it's actually the roof of our phenomenal wave pool research facility.
Okay, I've never been.
Well, exactly. And so every day I go into a new building and I suddenly see, wow, I never knew that was there.
Okay, so you've been everywhere on campus. What is your favourite part of campus?
I think it has to be the research labs. I mean, it's obviously part of Imperial's DNA is what makes it special. And it's the sheer variety of research labs. So the carbon capture facility to the, I mentioned the wave pools, all the way through to the fantastic biomedical facilities on the Hammersmith campus, for example. So it's that variety, which has made every single one of my visits so different and so inspiring.
That's really great to hear. You've recently started a big project looking at Imperial's strategy, and I wondered, why did you choose to do that kind of in your first year, and what do you want to get out of that research?
Yeah. I think it's a good time to be doing it. I mean, I think when any new president comes into any university, there's a sense that there's an opportunity to take stock and look at the direction of travel of the university. So there's almost that expectation. But actually, if you look at what's happened in the world in the last 2 or 3 years, from the Brexit to the pandemic to now geopolitics, war, cost of living crisis, I mean, we probably never had, outside of wartime, such a confluence of stresses and pressures on the world and indeed on the university. So I think this was a really good time for multiple reasons to launch a strategy. A strategy process makes it sound very mechanical, but it's really it's a conversation with colleagues and with students as to what they see is the future of the university. So it's an opportunity, if we get it right, it's an opportunity, one, to celebrate what's the achievements of Imperial, which have been phenomenal, and most recently during COVID, which was such a difficult time for our communities and the world, but where Imperial really shone. So it's an opportunity, one, to celebrate success, but it's also then an opportunity to imagine what Imperial might be look like in 10 to 15 years' time. So what's our ambition for Imperial? And then having agreed that, how do we get there? What are there changes we need to make? How do we raise the money so that we can maximize our impact on the world? If we get it right, we'll have done all of those things. We'll have a kind of a framework for the next 10 to 20 years that will help us guide our investment decisions and other decisions. It should be flexible enough, though, to be able to react to the external world. But then equally, it should help us persuade others to back us and to join us and to partner with us and to invest in us. So I think it is a unique opportunity, and I'm just so thrilled that students and staff, and indeed the wider Imperial family, are really embracing the opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting chance to look at how we approach things like science, but also education, which is so kind of critical to Imperial, and think, how do you want to train these students who will become future scientific leaders? What do we need to do to support them? I'm really excited by it.
Great.
August marks your first year as president. What do you hope that Imperial's community can achieve by then?
I think, I'll take you back to the strategy process, because I think what we're deliberately doing is giving ourselves maybe a year to have that conversation and looking to have our new strategy kind of formulated by the autumn. So what I would hope by the end of that first year, we will have a good sense of the collective ambition of our community and a reasonably well developed kind of framework, our kind of roadmap for the next 10 to 20 years. And a roadmap that really means something to people, that they're excited about, and that will inspire others, as I said, to partner with us.
And what are you planning for year two to kind of enact parts of that?
Yeah, I think year two is very much, if we get that strategy right and it means something to people, year two should actually be starting to bring it to life. So that we really, it helps us it guides our decision making, it guides our investment. But I think equally, certainly for the president of Imperial, part of my job is to really take Imperial's ambition to the world. And I think the world will want to hear what our plans are. I think Imperial's star has really shone over the last few years. I mean, a great institution before that, but if you look at Imperial's contribution during COVID, it's now absolutely on the world stage, and people want to know what our plans are, what our ambition is, and how they can partner with us, and that's a fantastic opportunity for our community.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel very proud whenever I go out to do science internationally and you say where you're from and they're like, oh, that's really fantastic.
And it wasn't always that way.
It wasn't always. Sometimes you had to explain where it was.
Yeah, that's right. So Imperial, I think, has naturally been maybe somewhat modest about its success, maybe hid its light under a bushel. But actually, nowadays, I think you have to tell your story, and we should tell our story with confidence, because that will inspire others to work with us and to partner with us and to invest in us.
Yeah, I completely agree. You have been doing that a lot. You've been traveling a lot. You've been to Munich, to Singapore, and to Brussels, and I hear there's even more on your agenda. From that, what have you learnt about how the world sees Imperial?
It's been really exciting and reassuring, kind of in equal measure. First, they see now Imperial as a fantastic institution, firmly established up there in the top tier of international research universities. So, and perhaps more prominent and well known than ever before. So there are opportunities there, but actually one of the challenges is also, well, what do we really want out of these partnerships? How many should we have? How should we structure them? How much should we invest in them? But I'm excited by the quality of the partnerships we already have. So you mentioned a few of them. CNRS, I think, where you were recently, Technological University in Munich. Again, a really successful, like-minded institution that's really on the move, and that it sees Imperial as part of its future. Singapore, multiple relationships. As you know, we partner with NTU on a medical school initiative. But we're now looking at how do we expand into other areas, but also how do we use Singapore as a base for the region. So I think it's absolutely appropriate at the moment that we start thinking about our international footprint, and that's not purely promotional. That's asking the question: how do we ensure that our fantastic research and education programs, how do we maximize their effect on humanity and our planet? And I think that's the way we should be thinking.
And maximise how we impact society and community around us. I love all of the different ways we can collaborate internationally, and the various seed funds and things like that have popped up to enable Imperial researchers to do that. I suppose you've also got an opportunity to meet a lot of our incredible global alumni, and I wonder what you've learned from those interactions.
I mean, our alumni are just a phenomenal community in their own right, and amazing ambassadors and advocates for Imperial. And what really inspires me is how they want to stay involved, and many of them are staying involved. So it's really interesting whether it's Munich or whether it is Singapore, or forthcoming kind of visit to the US. They turn out in great numbers, Many of them, in fact most of them, have kept connections with those who they spent time with at Imperial. It's as if they never left, really. You know, the same groups are, generally those friendships have endured over so many decades. But they really want to know what we're doing, what our plans are, and how they can help. And I mean, already we have alumni acting as mentors, coming back and supporting clubs and societies that they were passionate about, opening doors in terms of job opportunities and internships. Many of them in great universities, looking to help us establish partnerships. And then so many of them being really generous. So, when I visit our departments, and I tell our alumni this, there's not a day goes by when I don't meet a student who hasn't maybe being supported by an alumni-funded scholarship, or building so many of them would not have been possible. So our alumni allow us to offer all of our students a quality of experience that we couldn't just do with the student contribution or with state funding. And similarly, they allow us to develop our research programs, seed new research programs, again in a way that we just couldn't if we were reliant solely on Research Council funding, as an example. So they're just an amazing resource for the college.
And they're just such incredible kind of global citizens. I was lucky enough to judge the Alumni Awards last year, and it was so difficult. They've all gone on to do such exciting and phenomenal things for society, for science, for business, for journalism, and it feels like a really exciting community to be part of.
They are, and you get a sense that they're still so connected. I mean, during my inaugural, that was interesting because I had to think about what was special about Imperial. And I said then that there are three things I think that make it special. One, that focus on STEM and business, and indeed the interface between the two. Two, that real passion for innovation. And three, London as a location. But when you go across the world, I mean, all of those three resonate with our alumni. But what you really notice is just similar to our current students and staff, they really are passionate about making a difference to the world. They want to make our world a better place, a safer, healthier, smarter, more prosperous and more sustainable place. So it's as if they never left, and that's the way it should be. It should be a lifelong relationship.
Yeah, I love that. I love just imagining all those conversations when you have them with students and researchers around campus, and they all feel that energy and that excitement too. So I wonder if there are students or potentially researchers or members of staff who are watching this, who are thinking about coming to Imperial, what would you say to them? Why should they join us?
I'd say, well, one, come to one of the world's kind of top-ranked universities, but come because you want to make a difference to the world. I mean, I think that's what makes this such a special place. Our entire community, on a day-to-day basis, we have staff and students who are thinking about how they can make a difference to the world. And I go back to that, safer, smarter, healthier, more sustainable, more prosperous. More than any university that I've worked in or visited, our community thinks about how they can make a difference to the world, either through our education programs, the way we're helping shape future leaders, or through our research. And that's highly distinctive, and it's really energizing. And it just, I think, if I was doing it again, I would come to Imperial. It's such a phenomenal institution.
Okay, that's really good. So I wonder also if you have a particular message that you'd say to staff and students who are already here. We've got incredible people working here, and what's your message for them?
I think my message is maybe, first, congratulations on what has been achieved. I mean, Imperial is such a phenomenal institution. It is on a really exciting trajectory, and I think that's really important. You have a real sense that this is a relatively young university that's now really making its mark on the world stage. So the second thing I would say is let's not be shy about celebrating that, because it should be celebrated. It's a remarkable achievement. I mean, Imperial is up there in the top 10 in the world in the two major university rankings. So I think we should celebrate what has been done, and of course a lot of that relates to generations gone by and what they've achieved. So we are, to use that phrase, standing on the shoulders of giants. But that, I think, puts on us an obligation. So what's our contribution going to be? And that's where I have found that strategy conversation that we're currently embarked on so exciting. I mean, people are really ambitious for themselves, personally and professionally, but they're also ambitious for Imperial, and I think they have a real sense that Imperial has so much more to give in terms of its influence on the world. And that's just, for me as a new president, that's just inspiring. And that, so my role really is to help people achieve those ambitions individually and collectively. I'm a facilitator.
It feels like you've come into Imperial at a really awesome time in its kind of adolescence and coming into the world and making its mark. I get a chance to ask you a few more personal questions now. What's it been like moving from Bristol to London?
It's been really exciting. I mean, I love Bristol, so just if any of my friends in Bristol are watching this interview, I love Bristol. In fact, I was back there about 2 weeks ago, catching up with old friends. But London is so different, as you know. I mean, just the scale and the diversity. I mean, it has to be the world's greatest city. I've always thought that, and this move has just confirmed it for me. So I love sport, just the sheer diversity there. I occasionally go to the theatre, go to musicals.
You don't need to even leave this postcode to get to some of the most important museums in the world,
completely,
right?
and it's just, a few weeks ago, as you know, it was half term or mid-term for schools, and literally it was hard to move down Exhibition Road because you had all these wonderful young people from little toddlers, to probably 5th and 6th form students going to the museums, going to the galleries, at night the Albert Hall where we hold our graduations. So just even this so-called Albertopolis, this square mile that we're situated in has got to be scientifically and culturally one of the richest precincts in the world. And what a privilege for us.
It's absolutely incredible. Is your I know it's not so new now, but your new job kind of what you were expecting? Has anything been really surprising about it?
Probably not surprising, but I'd say better than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was going to be good. And that again is just because of, I had a sense of it, but I probably didn't quite get the importance that our students, for example, place on innovation. Like the number of them who tell me they want to start their own business, they want to start a company, they want to make the world a better place through discoveries that they hope to make. And similarly for our staff, I mean, I had I think a pretty good sense of the quality of research. The most recent research excellence framework, #1 in the country for research quality, phenomenal achievement. But it's when you visit like the labs and the departments, then you get a real sense of the scale, the diversity and the quality of the research and the passion that our staff have for that research and the impact it's making on the world.
Do you think that kind of student innovation, entrepreneurship, ambition is echoed nationally, or is Imperial quite unique in that?
All universities, I think seriously about the impact of the research that they do and their innovation capability. But Imperial is just part of the DNA of this institution. And I think I expect that actually out of the strategy conversation, because it's already coming up, that there's an appetite to do so much more, to give more opportunities for our students to take innovation and enterprise courses. 25% of them already take them voluntarily, which is amazing. But I suspect there's an appetite for even more. I think there are many students who have the potential to start up businesses. I think we produce 50 student startups per year, which is great. I suspect if we provided the right environment and supports, you could double or treble that very quickly.
It is so exciting, the Enterprise Lab, the Hack Space, all of these, buzzing centres of kind of incredible ideas and opportunity. I feel like it's a really great time to be here if you're an innovator. Do you have anything that you get time to do in London, living here in London? Do you have time on the weekend to explore? Do you go out and do those things? You've mentioned theatre and some music. I'm
getting out as much as I can. In fact, this very weekend, I'm going to have the pleasure of going to the Imperial College Symphony Orchestra at Cadogan Hall. So, really looking forward to that. That should be a fantastic occasion. And actually, we use that as an opportunity to bring alumni and supporters of the college back. So it's both a really important event and exciting event for our students, where they're showcasing their talents. We know how good they are when it comes to science, medicine, engineering and business. Well, what's amazing is whether it's music or whether it's sport, and again, I've had the pleasure of visiting our sports grounds. I mean, they're some phenomenal all-rounders.
I know, I love it. I got the chance to teach one of the physics students who ended up on the University Challenge team, who was also a phenomenal musician, and you just think, how do you have it all? It's an incredible place to be. I wondered, one more question. What would you really like the Imperial community to know about you?
First, how grateful I am for the welcome. And the welcome has been really, really warm. It was my intention to visit all of our departments and our divisions and our facilities. But actually, even before I announced that, I was getting invitations from all of those, all quarters of the university. So the warm welcome and the willingness to share their ambition and concerns in equal measure has been really helpful for me. The openness of the conversations. I mean, I need to hear the exciting stuff. I need to hear about their ambitions, but I also need to hear what's concerning staff. What's difficult, what's the grit in the system that we can work on together. So what I've really liked and valued was the openness of those conversations. And all in all, it's just been a fantastic experience. So a big thank you to everybody for that welcome. We undoubtedly won't agree on everything, but again, another thing I like about this institution is that people can disagree without being disagreeable. You can have those vibrant conversations. Most of the time, there's a shared ambition, but there are times when there are differences of opinion, not just me with maybe staff or our students actually, but just among our community. But that's one of the great things about a university, is that diversity of thought and sometimes collision of mind with mind. But it's just the quality and the tone of those conversations has been really welcome.
Yeah, I think it's been really fantastic. I said before how much it's meant for departments when you visited, but I loved getting the kind of email before that you were coming, and then afterwards seeing the photograph on all the television screens that you'd been, and then even the online kind of in conversation with the president, I think have been really useful for getting the community to be aware of what kind of actions you're doing and what's really important and valuable to you. So thank you from us as well.
Oh, very nice of you to say that. Well, we talked about innovation quite a lot, and that's important because, as I said, for me, it really comes across that that's part of the DNA of this institution. It's what makes Imperial special, unique. What more do you think we can do when you've experienced so many parts of the university, parts of the college? What more can we do in the innovation space?
I would get all of the researchers on board with thinking about how they can kind of co-create things with students. I think we've got extraordinary excitement and expertise and enthusiasm amongst us students. We've got researchers who are obviously doing some quite exciting things as well, but sometimes that can kind of feel out of step. So I think we need to work more together to identify new kind of design challenges or opportunities, whether they're in education, research opportunities or enterprising things, and then come together to work on them. Because I feel we have some exciting spin-out companies happening. We have really exciting student startups, and we could better merge those to really see where that takes us in an innovation landscape.
And you've been a phenomenal champion for diversity in science and engineering, and that's really important. And I'm I must say, delighted that that is one of the mainstream themes of the strategy conversation to date. What extra steps would you like, extra measures would you recommend to improve the diversity among our community?
Well, I think actually having a president who takes it so seriously, even in our first conversation, you mentioned it then as something wasn't significant to you, and in the kind of dialogue since then, championing things like mental health or recognizing the cost of living crisis and the impact that has on students. I think that's been very important for the community to hear and also for me to hear. I think we need to keep kind of listening and learning and listening to people's experiences and collecting data and looking at where we have awarding gaps or allocation gaps, who's not getting the funding that they should be getting, but acting on that. And I think Imperial has been really proactive on that kind of activity. It's actually one of the reasons that I'm still here and still care so passionately about Imperial, because I think they take diversity very seriously, but kind of continuing to set the kind of bar for how we should approach these things. The scholarships for Black students that were introduced very quickly in response to global events, which I think were really important for saying this is what a world-leading university can do on this stage and this is what we should be doing. The providing people access to nurseries, whether they're here or in the White City campus, and continuing to make sure that those spaces are available, making sure that we have most important critical research meetings within a working day so that people can get home if they have caring responsibilities. I think Imperial is leading the way in these things, and we need to keep looking at our international colleagues for examples of best practice and trying to emulate them. But I feel confident that the leadership here are taking that seriously.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And actually, what I love is your challenge to us to look elsewhere. So Imperial has great ideas and has great initiatives, but there's so many exciting things happening, not just across the UK, but across the globe in this space. And I think that applies for the strategy more generally. Let's look at what best practice is across the globe and ask ourselves, what should we take into Imperial from other universities, maybe tweak them to meet our needs. But I think that's a real opportunity. The last time we chatted, you asked me about what TV I watched, and I mentioned Ted Lasso. And for many people, I think including both my parents, that was the only thing they remembered about the interview.
Including my parents, that was the only thing they remembered as well.
So I didn't have the opportunity to ask you what you're watching at the moment.
Okay, that's a hard one. I definitely watch University Challenge, especially when Imperial is as successful as they have been recently. I also really, really like Sky Portrait Artist of the Year, which is a portrait painting competition, but where you really have this exceptional skill and talent on display. You mentioned before how Imperial is home to some absolutely sensational musicians, and I think we're also home to some absolutely sensational artists. But just watching artists kind of really get in the zone and go about and do their brilliant, wonderful masterpiece, I find it very cathartic watching them, and also inspiring to see what kind of things people can create. So Portrait Artist of the Year and University Challenge.
Great, and you should, you probably have, but if you haven't visited our Blythe Centre and their wonderful gallery, so there's an exhibition soon of some of the artwork from our own community, which I had a sneak preview of some of it just earlier on this week, and it's fantastic.
Imperial does have some absolutely amazing artists. I do like that art gallery very much. I also like there's been a big commission and project, probably led by your office, to really look at the portraiture around college and how that can better reflect the college community. So I know there are some really exciting portraits already up and going up of some of our other scientists and engineers from historically excluded groups. And I find that really exciting and inspiring as well.
Well, that's really great feedback because I think that has been welcomed by so many of our community, and it's so important. We're on a journey, we have a lot more to do, but it's a really great start. So maybe my last question for you is, you clearly love the place. I mean, the first time we met, you were the most powerful ambassador and advocate for this college that I've met in my time here. What do you love about the place? What's made you stay in Imperial? And maybe what's your ambition for the college going forward?
Well, I definitely love the facilities. We've spoken about how that's been a highlight of your job, going around and seeing these great labs. I love working in those labs, state-of-the-art instrumentation, but also that absolutely incredible technical expertise you need from the research staff around it and the kind of supporting technicians just to enable awesome science to happen. And I find that it's really exciting and kind of motivating for me. Definitely the students, our undergraduates and our postgraduates, you get PhD researchers who applied to come and work here, who are inspired and excited like you and I, and have these incredible ideas that take research in completely new directions. I absolutely love the collaborative nature of research at Imperial. You have a world-leading engineering department, but you have chemistry, you have physics, you have maths, you have computing, you've got the business school, you've got medicine, and that just takes science to places that I never thought was possible. And you kind of have you can have your big long list of international collaborators all you like, but actually the research collaborations you can have just in the senior common room are absolutely extraordinary. So I think I stay here, I'm excited to be here, and I feel honoured and privileged to be here because of that opportunity. And I suppose my vision for me is that one day I get to do more of that teaching of students. I really love teaching our undergraduates. I think they're so enthusiastic and curious, and an opportunity to give them some small sense of science and what they can do with it is really fantastic. But I really hope that Imperial continues to be this kind of beacon of excellence for research, but also leading the way on what we should do on societal issues like diversity and equity, and transforming education to make it more inclusive and impactful.
And I'm glad you mentioned collaboration, because I knew coming to Imperial, by reputation, Imperial has really strong academic departments and 4 very strong faculties. What has been maybe the biggest surprise for me, and I mean this in a really pleasant way, has been the collaboration, both educational and research, but particularly in research across our faculties. So obviously the Global Challenge Research Institutes, I mean, they play a major part of that. But actually it's much more than that. When I visit any of our faculties, including our business school, the tentacles that they have into other parts of the organisation is what makes it really special. And I think actually as we think through our strategy for the next decade, a key question for us is how do we facilitate even more of that? We see it on steroids almost in the White City, and what a fantastic opportunity. But I think the ambition and the appetite is the same here. And so many of the grand challenges that our planet and humanity are facing, as you well know, will only be solved through multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research. So I think again, it's a game that Imperial plays really well already, but we have so much more to offer.
I completely agree, and it feels very meaningful from here. You hear that word interdisciplinary all the time, and probably in all of your really top-level interactions, people say interdisciplinary a lot in government and other universities. But here it feels real. Interdisciplinary is just part of what makes Imperial, and I think that's why it's so exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.